Hey everyone, before we dive into this story, please hit that subscribe button to support my channel and stay updated with more gripping tales. Aunt Camille, we have to leave now. My 5-year-old nephew Timothy's hushed plea pierced through the lively buzz of the wedding reception. His tiny hand clutched mine with unexpected force, his eyes fixed on the floor beneath our table. I'm Camille Watson, 35, a pediatric nurse from Portland, Oregon. I was at my sister Brittany's wedding reception, watching her twirl on the dance floor with her new husband, Jake, when Timothy's words sent a shiver through me. The venue sparkled with elegance, filled with joyous laughter. But something in my nephew's tone made my pulse quicken. "What's wrong, sweetie?" I murmured, bending down to meet his gaze. Timothy, Brittany's son from a past relationship, was a sharp kid who rarely seemed scared. Yet now, his wide brown eyes held a mix of recognition and dread. "Check under the table," he whispered, his voice nearly drowned out by the music. "Please, Aunt Camille, we need to go." I scanned the reception hall, taking in the stunning decor and happy guests. Brittany had gone all out for this wedding. Crystal chandeliers glowed warmly over tables covered in creamy linens, and the fragrance of white roses hung in the air. Everything seemed flawless, just as Brittany always insisted on perfection. Growing up, Brittany, 3 years my junior, was the family's shining star. She aced school, won beauty contests, and could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. While I worked grueling shifts to fund nursing school, Brittany glided through life, expecting it to cater to her. Even now, at 28, she seemed convinced the world owed her joy. But recently, I'd noticed troubling shifts in her behavior. Over the past few months, she'd been unpredictable, sometimes bursting with energy, other times sinking into dark moods that kept her bedbound for days. When I raised concerns, she'd dismiss me with that polished laugh she'd mastered as a teen. "Camille, you're such a worrier," she'd say. "It's just wedding stress." Timothy tugged my hand again, more urgently. "Please, Aunt Camille, I learned about this at school. The police told us what to do if we see it." My stomach sank. Carefully, so as not to alert others at our table, I lifted the edge of the tablecloth. What I saw froze my blood and confirmed my worst suspicions about my sister. Hidden partly behind Timothy's small legs was a chilling assortment. Small plastic bags with white residue, a rolled $20 bill, and a tiny mirror dusted with powder. My hands trembled as I let the tablecloth fall back. Timothy's innocent face gazed up at me with a wisdom number 5-year-old should have. "Officer Johnson showed us pictures at school. He said if we see that stuff, we tell a trusted adult right away." My heart ached for this boy, thrust into a dangerous reality. I thought back to the times Brittany seemed distracted when I picked Timothy up for our weekends together, how she'd hurry me out of her apartment without letting me in. The skipped family dinners, her wild mood swings, the frenzied wedding planning while claiming she was broke. "You're right, sweetie," I whispered, struggling to keep my voice calm. "We're going to deal with this now." Across the hall, Brittany laughed loudly at something Jake whispered, her movements overly animated, her eyes unnaturally bright. Jake's hand rested possessively on her lower back, his glances toward our table unreadable. Our parents, Douglas and Margaret Watson, sat at the head table, glowing with pride over their youngest daughter's perfect day. Dad had walked Brittany down the aisle, tears in his eyes, while Mom dabbed at her makeup throughout the ceremony. They were oblivious to the storm brewing. I recalled the past year of wedding preparations, Brittany's insistence on the city's priciest venue, the designer gown worth more than 2 months of my salary, the lavish European honeymoon she said Jake's family funded. Now I questioned where the money truly came from and what else lurked behind this fairy tale wedding. Timothy squeezed my hand. "Are we going to be okay, Aunt Camille?" "Yes, honey," I said firmly, though my mind raced with the implications of our discovery. "We'll be more than okay. But first I need to take pictures of what you found. Then we'll talk to Grandpa and Grandma." Trying to stay discreet, I used my phone to capture the evidence under the table. The images were undeniable and damning. Whatever Brittany was entangled in had tainted what should have been her happiest day. Worse, it endangered Timothy, and that was something I wouldn't stand for. As I snapped the photos, my mind pieced together the past few months, Brittany's drastic weight loss she blamed on wedding stress, Her erratic phone calls that swung from hyper to silent, the extravagant purchases followed by desperate pleas for cash, the new crowd she ran with, including Jake, whom she'd met just 8 months ago. Jake Morrison had stormed into Brittany's life, promising her the world. Charismatic, impeccably dressed, and seemingly wealthy despite no clear job. He was vague when I asked what he did, something about investments and opportunities. Warning signs had been there, but Brittany was so smitten, so sure she'd found her prince, that I'd held my tongue. Now, staring at the drug paraphernalia under the table where my nephew sat, I saw my silence had been a mistake. This wasn't just about Brittany's choices anymore. It was about a child's safety, a family celebration turned dangerous and illegal. "Aunt Camille," Timothy whispered, "there's more over there." He pointed to a small clutch purse carelessly left near a chair, its half-open zipper revealing more plastic bags. My stomach churned as the scope of the situation hit me. This wasn't just someone sneaking drugs into a wedding. It looked like dealing or distribution, right in the middle of the reception. I scanned the room with fresh eyes, noticing things I'd overlooked. Jake's friends making frequent, lengthy bathroom trips, the hushed exchanges and subtle handshakes I'd mistaken for congratulations. The beautiful reception, with its elegant decor and festive vibe, was a facade for illegal activity. My sister, the family's golden child, hadn't just fallen into addiction. She was letting her wedding serve as a hub for it. I thought of our childhood, how Brittany always escaped consequences while I faced impossible standards. The irony wasn't lost on me that now, when she needed accountability most, she was still hiding behind a mask of perfection. But this time, a child was at risk, and that changed everything. I stood slowly, keeping Timothy close, and made my choice. The golden child's free pass was over. "Timothy, come with me to find Grandpa and Grandma," I said softly, helping him down from his chair. "Stay right by my side, okay?" He nodded gravely, his small hand tight in mine as we crossed the hall. I smiled and nodded at relatives, but my heart pounded so loudly I was sure everyone could hear it. Nearing the head table, I caught Dad's eye and signaled for him to step aside. Douglas Watson, a high school principal for 30 years, still carried an authority that could silence a room of teens. If anyone could handle this, it was him. "Dad, I need to talk to you and Mom privately," I said quietly but urgently. "It's about Timothy's safety." The word safety shifted his demeanor from joy to concern. Mom followed, smoothing her lavender dress, her face anxious. "What's wrong, honey?" she asked as we moved to a quieter corner near the coat check. I glanced at Timothy, pressed against me. "Timothy, tell Grandpa and Grandma what you told me about what's under the table." With serious eyes, he looked at them. "There are drugs under our table. Officer Johnson at school showed us pictures, so we'd know. He said drugs are dangerous, and we should tell a trusted adult if we see them." Dad paled. Mom gasped, her hand covering her mouth. "Camille, surely not." I cut in, showing my phone. "Dad, look." I scrolled through the photos of the paraphernalia. His jaw tightened, his principal instincts taking over. Mom looked ill. "There's more," I added, showing the purse photos. "Dad, I think drugs are being dealt at this reception. Timothy could have been exposed to dangerous substances, and who knows how many others are involved." "Oh my God," Mom whispered, glancing at Brittany, now posing for photos with Jake and his groomsmen. "Our baby girl. How did this happen?" Dad was already in action mode. "We need to get Timothy out of here now. Margaret, take him to the car. Camille, stay with me. We're confronting Brittany before this escalates." "Wait," I said, grabbing his arm. "If we confront her publicly, we could endanger ourselves and the guests. We don't know how Jake's friends will react if they feel exposed." Dad nodded grimly. "You're right, but we can't let this go on. There are kids here, elderly family. If someone gets hurt because we didn't act," I watched Jake whisper to Brittany, his hand on her back in what I now saw as control, not affection. Her laugh was too loud, her pupils dilated despite the bright lights. "I have a plan," I said slowly. "What if I talk to Brittany privately? Tell her we know and give her a chance to stop this quietly. If she refuses, we take stronger steps." Dad considered, his eyes on Brittany. "And if she's too far gone to listen? Then we call the police," I said firmly. I won't let Timothy or anyone else get hurt because we hesitated. We agreed I'd approach Brittany alone, pretending to chat with the bride. Dad would stay near the exit with Mom and Timothy, ready to call for help. The plan felt shaky, but it was safer than sparking a public confrontation. I crossed the dance floor, weaving through couples swaying to jazz. Brittany saw me and broke from Jake with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Camille," she cried, hugging me with a desperation that wasn't joy. "Isn't this perfect?" "Everything's perfect." Up close, I saw the signs I'd missed. Trembling hands, constant nose touching. Rapid speech I'd chalked up to bridal excitement. My heart broke for the sister who once braided my hair and shared her candy. "Brittany, we need to talk about something serious," I said softly. "Can we step outside for a minute?" Her smile wavered. "I'm kind of busy being the bride, you know." Jake appeared, his arm around her waist, his tone unsettling. "Everything okay, ladies?" His charm masked something colder, more calculating. This wasn't just a user. This was a manipulator. "Just congratulating Brittany on her beautiful wedding," I said evenly, holding his gaze. "And discussing some family matters." "Family matters can wait," Jake said smoothly. "Tonight's for celebrating, right, babe?" Brittany nodded, but I caught her anxious glance. "Jake's right. We'll talk later, Camille. Just enjoy the party." Gentle wasn't working. She was too deep in Jake's grip, too lost in their world. I had to be blunt, even if it was risky. "I found the drugs under our table, Brittany," I said quietly but firmly. "Timothy found them first. A 5-year-old was inches from cocaine and paraphernalia." Brittany paled, stumbling into Jake, who caught her, his face turning cold. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said weakly, her voice trembling. "Yes, you do," I pressed. "So does Jake. Are you going to stop this now and get help? Or do I call the police to protect Timothy and everyone here?" Jake stepped closer, his voice low and menacing. "Be careful with your accusations, Camille. This is a private celebration. You don't want to ruin your sister's day over a misunderstanding, do you?" I wasn't intimidated. "The only thing ruining this day is you turning my sister's wedding into a drug hub. Timothy's 5, Jake, and he was next to your stash." Brittany started crying, her makeup smearing. "Camille, please. It's not what it seems." "Then explain it," I said firmly. "Because it looks like you're both high at your own wedding, putting everyone here at risk." Jake's charm vanished. "You know what, Camille? You've always been the uptight sister. Maybe if you stayed out of it, everyone would be happier." "My nephew's safety is my business," I shot back. "And drugs around kids make it everyone's business." Brittany sobbed, wiping her face. "I never meant for Timothy to see anything. I never meant for this. But it happened," I said, my heart aching but my resolve strong. "Brittany, look at me. When was the last time you went a day without using? When did you last feel like yourself?" Her haunted eyes showed a flicker of the sister I knew. "I can't remember," she whispered. Jake grabbed her arm roughly. "Don't listen to her, babe. She's jealous you're happy and she's alone. Your family doesn't get us." His control was blatant now. Brittany wasn't just battling addiction. She was under his manipulation. "Brittany, I love you," I said urgently. "I always have. Even when it felt like Mom and Dad favored you. But this isn't love or happiness. Your son found drugs at your wedding." She glanced around, the gravity sinking in. Guests were noticing our tense exchange, and Jake's friends watched warily. "I want to get clean," she whispered, barely audible. "I've wanted to stop for months, but Jake says Jake doesn't decide your recovery," I cut in. "This is your choice, your life, your son's safety." Jake's anger flared. "Enough, Brittany. We're leaving." But she shook her head, pulling away. "No, I can't keep doing this. Camille's right. Timothy could have been hurt. What kind of mother am I?" "One who can choose help," I said firmly. "Tonight, we can leave together. Tomorrow, we start getting you treatment." Jake stepped between us, raising his voice. "She's not going with you. You don't know what you're messing with, Camille." His friends edged closer, the reception's festive bubble now tense and dangerous. I glanced at Dad, who held his phone, ready to act. Mom had Timothy near the exit, safe. I faced Jake with confidence. "Actually, Jake, you're the one who doesn't know what you're up against. I'm a nurse, a mandated reporter. Timothy's exposure to drugs means I'm legally obligated to report this to Child Protective Services. Their faces paled. Jake's bravado crumbled. You can't do that. You'll ruin everything. It's already ruined, I said calmly, holding my phone. The question is, do we handle this as a family, or do I call CPS now? Brittany looked between us, her dress wrinkled, tears streaking her face. Camille, if you call, they might take Timothy. Then make some fast choices, I replied. Are you ready for treatment? To cut ties with those fueling your addiction? To put Timothy first? Jake grabbed her again. She's bluffing. Your family's always been jealous of us. I signaled Dad, who strode toward us. Mom led Timothy out. Jake, meet my father, Douglas Watson, I said. A high school principal for 30 years. He's dealt with more drug dealers and manipulators than you can count. Dad's voice boomed. In Oregon, endangering a child with controlled substances is a felony. Contributing to a minor's delinquency adds penalties. If drugs were distributed here, that's trafficking. Jake's friends scattered, heading for the exits. Brittany stared at the empty spaces. They're leaving, she said, stunned. They never cared about you, I said gently. They wanted what you could give them. But your family's here. Timothy needs you to choose him. She looked at the fading reception, decorations, empty dance floor, whispering guests. Her fairy tale wedding was a nightmare, reality piercing the drug-fueled haze. I choose Timothy, she whispered, then louder, I choose my son. Jake's rage erupted. You're making a huge mistake. You think your family will stick by you through rehab? Forgive this embarrassment? I'm the only one who gets you. The way I am is sick, Brittany said, her voice strengthening. You made me sicker, convincing me drugs were normal, that I needed them to be happy. My son found cocaine at my wedding. Dad stepped forward. Jake, you and your friends need to leave. The reception's over. You can't kick me out of my own wedding, Jake snarled, his confidence faltering. Watch me, Dad said. Security, alerted during our talk, approached. Jake looked around, his control gone. This isn't over, he told Brittany. You'll come back to me. You always do. But Brittany stood tall, backed by Dad and me. No, Jake. This is over. All of it. As security escorted Jake and his friends out, Brittany collapsed into Dad's arms, sobbing with relief and grief. The golden child had fallen, but was ready to rise with help. Jake faced swift consequences when security seized the drugs and called Portland police. Arrested for possession, distribution, and child endangerment, his marriage to Brittany was nullified due to his crimes during the ceremony. His drug network collapsed as associates were arrested, and he faced years in prison, far from my sister. Brittany entered court-mandated rehab days after the wedding disaster, temporarily losing Timothy, but gaining a path to recovery with support. Driving home that night with Timothy buckled in the back, I reflected on how protecting a child meant shattering my sister's illusions of a perfect life. Sometimes, the greatest love is refusing to enable destruction, even if it means playing the villain until they find their way back to the truth.